This is The Tea Project with your host, Gadiel and Michelle, a husband and wife duo where they will be discussing countless topics such as parenting and marriage, personal finance, managing a household, personal and professional development, and so much more. Gadiel is a father, husband, a military veteran, and a lawyer. Michelle is a mother, wife, boss, and above all, a productivity enthusiast. Each week, they will be providing you with fresh and valuable content, so stay tuned. And now, welcome to The Tea Project.
Hey, folks. Welcome to another episode of Tea Project.
Hi, folks.
Today, we're going to do a special episode on Kobe Bryant and obviously...
And his daughter, Gianna.
And the other 7 passengers. Obviously, if you're hearing this and you've opened up Yahoo or any news station or even Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you should have heard already that Kobe Bryant, the Lakers basketball player, passed away in a helicopter accident with his daughter and 7 other passengers, which include the pilot. Michelle, I know you've been not doing research, but you've been
on top of the news.
You've been on top of the news. So give me your take. Tell me what you think.
I want to say it's almost like you got to split it into 2.
Okay.
One is the humanitarian part.
Okay.
Like the having the emotions of, somebody's passing and not just anybody's passing, but somebody who was very influential, who's a hero to a lot of people.
Right.
And then you have the other side, which is the, scientific part, I guess, of why did it happen. So,
well, let's talk about the why before we get into the humanitarian or what he stood for.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the why. Now, what have you read, heard, researched? Because I know you also been looking at the NTSB,
the videos and all that,
right? Their briefings and everything. So what happened?
I don't. The problem is that you have to go to the reliable source to get your information, because then it can get clouded with other people's interpretation of what happened. So you have to be very aware of what you're watching, because it could be one, what the NTSB said or whatever the name of the agency is, and the other is what other people have, like a regular civilian person, and then whatever pilot is out there to give their opinion, you have to kind of take it like a grain of salt.
Right. So you mentioned the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board. It's a government agency, the one that's been assigned tasks to investigate. This is sort of their purview, right? To investigate. It's a helicopter crash. What do they say happened?
They haven't really said what's happened. They're saying that it's still open for any interpretation, for anything that could have happened.
Okay, but what facts have they given? The preliminary facts as far as direction, weather,
the path they've kind of given what not all the information about the configuration of the helicopter. I'm surprised that that's not already put out there. What other thing have they put in?
But just tell me what you mentioned the path. What path? Tell me
the path that they took from Orange County, or from where is it, the first airport that they came out of?
It was I know there was
John Wayne Airport. John Wayne. And then is when they kind of started, going northwest, and they were flying over, I think it's Glendale. And I'm not by any means familiar with California. I think we've flown maybe one time, and that was like to the airport, and that was it.
Yeah, right.
From there, they were trying to enter Burbank.
Okay.
and so they had to kind of circle around Glendale, I think.
So
for, like,
so let me ask you, how was the weather like when they took off?
there's reason. I think they had said that that the weather was not that like perfect or great, or they said that there was humidity or fog in certain areas.
Okay, but from from the place of liftoff, how was the weather then?
I think there was high visibility.
It was good.
Yeah.
No issues.
Right.
Okay. So when they first took off, no problems, sunny skies, no fog. There's nothing like that. Do you remember what time they took off?
It was like
early
at
in the morning.
9:05, which, by the way, he went to church at 8:00 with
Okay.
his daughter.
Right. So Kobe went to mass.
So it must have been
that morning.
Shortly after he drove over, met with the parents, of his daughter's teammates.
Right.
And then at 9:05 is when it took off.
So at that point, when they took off, there's no problems with the sky. The pilot, I read somewhere, don't quote me, I'm just some guy, listening to news and regurgitating, I'm not regurgitating things that, Joe the plumber. I've looked at some videos, read some articles by people who with experience in flying these helicopters, the Sikorsky S-76, which is the model they flew. That the pilot, he did his due diligence from the place of takeoff.
And he also has experience with IFR, but not proficient is what I heard. That
Right.
he didn't constantly practice.
And IFR is what?
The instrument.
What is that?
I forgot what the FR means.
Is that when
This
is
the
that
difference.
when they have to rely strictly on the instruments, the
Right.
gauges, the dials,
Correct.
the things that you see on the dashboard of the
Right.
So he was and why is that important?
Well, because the IFR comes in when the conditions don't allow for VFR. So there's that I've heard of. There's three. There's VFR, which is visual, and that's the one that mostly
That you can see out the window,
right,
you can
and
see
you're
the terrain, and you
you're
can see
following-
the highways.
Yeah.
You can see things. Okay.
And then you have special VFR, which is you're still seeing visual
the ground.
the ground, but then you're also being sort of, I guess, tracked by the control towers.
Right. Okay.
Where they're kind of leading you through, like, okay, this is where
like
you
a
should
guide.
go through, right?
Right. And then the last one you mentioned was the
IFR
the
one.
IFR, where you can't see the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Are you being guided or not?
If you're on special VFR, yes.
So
if you're on VFR,
uh-huh.
then you're just flying.
You're on your own.
Right.
Okay, so the IFR, whether or not you're being guided by some
and you
tower.
need to have permission for that ahead of time, I believe, or if you're gonna have permission for that, it takes a while to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, that flight was only allowed to do VFR.
Right.
You can request the special VFR, which obviously they gave it to him, and a lot of these other experts say that it's typical for pilots to ask for that.
Okay. So when they entered the Calabasas area, is that when he went into the IFR mode?
See, because I don't know the geographic part of California, live in Florida, totally opposite.
Right.
I only know that they went from John Wayne Airport to Burbank to what's the other one?
Van Nuys
Van Nuys was the next one.
Right.
And then from there, Van Nuys asked him if he wanted to be connected to the SoCal, California
Right.
airport.
So IFR stands for Instrument Flight Rules.
Yeah, there we go.
So at some point towards the end of the flight, he requests IFR because he can.
No.
He didn't.
No, you're not allowed because he's asking still for special
got
VFR.
it. He still needs help.
Right.
The guidance from
but
the
is
tower.
that you couldn't do IFR because you were not permitted to do that.
Got it. So he went into.
It's almost like an emergency IFR.
Right.
Yeah.
So at towards the end of the flight, he went into IFR conditions where he can no longer see the ground, terrain.
The scary part about that is what I've seen from videos and from reading is that a helicopter should not go into a cloud especially when you're not, your equipment is not allowing you to do that.
Right.
Like you're not fully equipped. And number one, they didn't have the terrain. I think it's called TAS, where it tells you like the altitude of, wherever you're flying over.
Right.
But the scary thing about the clouds is that I didn't know this. The moment you drive into a cloud, you become disorientated.
Right.
And you think that you're sitting down, like in a car, you're sitting down and gravity's pushing you down, and you have your crystals in your eyes that give you your equilibrium, and you know that you're sitting, at a...
Right, because you can see.
Correct.
Okay.
But I'm assuming that because now you've been blinded.
Right.
You don't know.
You lose like your depth perception. You don't know which.
Or not even that, your equilibrium.
Your equilibrium, right.
So you don't know if you're facing upwards, which is weird to me because of the whole gravity thing. When you're sitting, like, say, on a roller coaster,
right? Don't
you kind of go, like, feel your body going forward if you're going down, or feeling back if you're going up?
Right.
So somehow I think that accident happened in the moment he drove into the cloud. Right. He completely lost.
He lost all.
He couldn't see, and then it just went really bad.
Now is that the consensus?
I think so, but again, we have to wait till the
NTSB comes out with their findings,
and they take about a year to a year and a half.
That's what a lot of the experts, though. When I say experts, it's those who have flown helicopters, and also specifically the same type that this pilot was flying. They're saying that, based on the preliminary facts, the conditions of the weather, where they were, the type of the airflow.
Some say that he should have turned around, and I think he was trying to do that.
Right.
One of the a news reporter was saying that there was a helipad to the left of
nearby.
him. To the left.
Right.
And that's kind of why it's just, like
assumption.
I said, an assumption that he made a left in the attempt of getting out of the cloud, and then also, finding safety. Right. So at that point, he knew that he was flying into the cloud.
Right. So, and I guess it's at that point that they lost
the impact.
The impact. So
the other thing too is that the helicopter did not have a black box, and according to the NTSB, they have recommended the FAA for a very long time that all aircraft should have a black box. And I totally agree with that, because and we had this conversation before, it's almost going backwards, because the whole purpose of the black box is to be able to know what is it that happened, so that then pilots can learn from it and say and not have this tragedy happen again.
Right.
So but
well, let me read what this article here. A black box. The role of the black box is to give a detailed track of on-flight information. It records altitude, the position, the speed, as well as pilot conversations, which is why at some point we only have a one-way conversation recorded with the tower.
It's because one of the reporters said that in the ladder of the events, there's microphones put on in different mountains.
Okay.
And you can actually hear the conversation only from the control tower to the pilot, but you don't hear the pilot to the control tower.
Right.
So they're having the conversation normally, but it didn't record the pilots.
Had the helicopter had a black box, that conversation would be recorded, no? Okay. So, and look, listen, to the folks listening to this episode, we are no expert, and we're not blaming the pilot. No way, no how. We're just kind of repeating somewhat of what we heard, but we say it with caution. I don't want to say we shouldn't be saying it. I mean, if that were the case, we shouldn't speak about anything. So, however, we say what we're saying with caution, and we're definitely not trying to point any fingers to anybody. Okay, so the accident happens. And this is like around 9:45 here in Florida. It's around 11:45. You and I are at a birthday party. We get a either a text or an Instagram or something.
One of our friends
2 or
tell
3
us
in the
that.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Which is like noon in California. And we're shocked. We're like, we can't believe it. And a lot of folks can't believe it either.
And I think it took us a while until reality set in, because it's like you think about it and you're like, oh my gosh, is that really true? And then you kind of, that settles in. And then like an hour later, you're like, oh my God, is that really true?
Right.
And then you go over
you
and
kind of
over.
relive it
Yeah.
over and over and over.
And then now weeks passed and obviously it's settled in.
Right.
And now you have to then question, okay, why did this happen?
Right.
Because I believe that everything happens for a reason.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
So
now this is the humanitarian aspect of the Kobe Bryant that you said. There's 2 parts. There's the events, and there's the human aspect to it. Why did it happen? He's 41, 4 kids. They're all girls. He just had his youngest is
7 months old.
7 months.
Something like that.
Yeah. So do you
remember when we were coming back from the birthday party and I said to you, wow, look at the tweet in social media that they both made to each other.
Oh,
and, how LeBron had passed his record for total points or something like that, all points.
He total points. He passed Kobe. LeBron passed Kobe.
And then Kobe
the night before the accident. Yeah.
He said, keep the game going forward.
Yeah. He praised him and he said, hey man, keep it moving forward.
And then LeBron kind of gave like a eulogy.
It was weird. He did. Not weird like in a bad way, just
but looking now a week later or looking after the events happened.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that LeBron had predicted his death or anything, because I've also heard that on like social media. I'm like, really, people? But he it's almost, and I think one of the posts said something like, it's like LeBron giving fresh flowers without him even gone yet or something like that.
Yeah. Basically the meaning is that he's saying goodbye to him while he's alive still.
Right. And he's and Kobe's passing the baton to him,
saying, keep it moving, keep it going, keep moving the game forward, keep impacting people.
Right.
So this is the other aspect. Kobe, to some people, he's just a basketball player, right?
Mm-hmm. But he's much more than that.
But he's much more than that. Let's just take the basketball aspect of it, right? So people are like, because I read comments, and you're always going to get comments from, everybody's entitled to opinion. So you're going to get people that say, oh, he's just a basketball player.
No.
Why are we praising him and this and that? Look,
I didn't even, I knew him as a basketball player. We went to one of his games before our wedding.
Right. We saw the Heat in the Lakers play here.
Yeah. And I'm not a basketball, like fan or anything.
Right.
It's just, I was listening to somebody else speaking. I can't remember who it was, and he said, because it was a guy, I can't remember. He said this that's happened in the last week is almost like reliving the death of John F. K.
Mm-hmm.
It was somebody that was so impactful to people all over the world,
right?
And they felt that pain. They felt that emptiness in them.
Right. Almost as if it was one of their family members passing.
Right. And you have parents who are, sharing the I don't know what's the right word, but the grieving of losing a child.
Mm-hmm. He also lost his little girl, so you have parents grieving the loss of his
then
child.
You have the who is it? We had 2 parents and a child, and that one child, the other sibling, became orphan.
Right, and in the same,
and then you had, it's like you almost had different stories amongst those 9.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah. And then you have the other family where it was the assistant coach
and left
and her daughter, right? Was it assistant? It's the assistant coach for sure. I want to say it's her daughter as well.
Mm-hmm.
that left the husband, widow, with took care of. No,
I think it's the husband and 3 kids that she left behind. The other one was Peyton. Peyton. Oh my God, I can't remember her name. It was her and her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there was, who else was there? You want to pull up a list?
Yeah, I'm gonna get the list so we can be. We don't want to say the wrong thing here. So it was, as you know, it's Kobe and his daughter, Peyton and Sarah Chester.
Yeah, there we go.
It's that's what I was thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mother and daughter. Christina Mauser.
That's the one that left the husband and 3 kids behind.
Right.
And her husband said that it's amazing how they're all, obviously they all know each other, they're friends because they go to the Mamba Academy. That's as far as I know.
Yeah.
But you can tell that them as a group, their survivors are gonna, at least I hope, that they're going to help them see this through.
Right.
As a support.
But don't forget the pilot as well. I mean, we all refer to him as the pilot, like he's not we're not trying to add any emotion.
Right.
Like he's not a person.
No, he's.
But look, he was in the accident as well, and he's probably the least that I've seen and heard, the least spoke about, and he's always referred to as the pilot.
Yeah.
As if he just he didn't leave anything behind. Like he doesn't have family, friends, and people who are going to mourn him.
Right.
And because he may or may not be the one, responsible. I don't know. We don't need to speak about that, but he's still a person too.
Right. That
deserves mourning and respect
Absolutely.
As well. But I think though he's probably the least one that's obviously Kobe because he's the most known.
Mm-hmm.
But the pilot least because he was the pilot.
Right.
But no, I mean, he deserves to be mourned as well. But let's talk about Kobe. I know he went to church. He's a Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
He went to church that morning. I read an article that someone from his church, they published an article, and they spoke about him, that he was avid or a devout
right
Catholic. Something I never knew, to be honest with you.
I had no idea either.
And I know a lot of athletes, they always you always watch them.
Tim Tebow's one.
Right, but those are the vocal ones.
The vocal ones,
not
yeah.
The
but
ones
not
who,
yes, you're right.
Those are the ones who are not.
No, but he does speak about him. Just not as vocal as
mm-hmm.
Tim Tebow and the other ones do, but he's devout, yeah.
So you see, look, in sports, you see a lot of folks, baseball,
mm-hmm.
football. You see a lot of people, when they do something, they'll put their hands together like it's a prayer. They'll point to the sky. They'll
right.
do the cross, like Catholics, they do the cross. So you can kind of quickly identify, okay, he's Christian.
Not just Catholics, but Christians.
Christians as well. But you can identify the Christians when they do the cross or they'll say a prayer or something before the game, or maybe they're just meditating. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But you can quickly identify who's the spiritual ones.
Right.
Not to say the other ones don't do it maybe privately, but the ones who do it publicly, you can quickly identify. Let's talk about his wife.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I can't imagine what she's
I
feeling.
can't. If I said I could, then I'd be lying. Because if I haven't experienced it, I can't. She lost her husband, her partner, her friend, her best friend, someone she's been together for a long time, and one of her daughters. And I just don't know what that means. You know what I mean?
So our deepest condolences to them, the other 3 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Capri, I think, is the baby. It's sad that she really won't get to know her dad.
Right.
And then her oldest, that must have been daddy's girl too.
Right. I mean, he was known as Girl Dad. #
mm-hmm.
Girl Dad, because he only had girls.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that I've seen a few clips where fans would say, "Hey man, when are you gonna have the boy? When are you gonna have the boy?"
Right.
And to pass on the legacy, like another Kobe Jr. And his daughter Gigi, the one who passed away, she was that.
She came back. Nope, I got this.
She's got it. Meaning, they don't need a boy to do that.
Yeah.
And she looked good. I looked at some of the videos. She looked like she had the fundamentals down.
Yeah.
The basketball fundamentals. Any closing remarks? Anything that you want to say that before we wrap up this episode? We thought it was important to talk about Kobe because it's affected us in some way.
Yeah, I want to say this whole week has been a little bit of a funk for me because of that. And I don't know what to make of it, except God has a message in everything that happens to me. And this just means don't take life for granted, and say I love you as much as you can to your family and your kids.
Is this gonna make you reevaluate how you look at work and things outside of your home, or no?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, are you gonna go to work and say, like, the things that you'd get upset about normally, like, oh, this person, that person, or this task, that task? Are you gonna say, you know what? At the end of the day, it's just work, man.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I'm not gonna get buried with this cabinet and these files. When they bury me, I'm not gonna go down. You know, are you gonna look at it like, I need to separate this, man? This is not who I am. This is what I do, but it ain't who I am.
No, I mean, I feel like I already had started the new year with me separating work from
No, I know that,
family.
But
so no, my mind's still made up in that work is work,
right,
and my family is priority, and that's it.
I know, but seeing him pass away at a young age, that's really the point.
A
I'm
reminder.
Gonna make.
A reminder.
Is that what us as parents?
As parents,
are we supposed to see it like that?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. That to the parents out there listening, I think if you get anything out of what's happened to Kobe Bryant and the rest of the other families, not just Kobe, but the other families too, that I think we need to evaluate what's truly important in our lives, because any moment, you're here today and you're gone today.
Mm-hmm.
You're here today and gone today. So
you're here today and gone tomorrow.
No, I know, but sometimes
the rest of your day is not promised.
No. It used to be here today, gone tomorrow. But the truth is, you're here today and you're gone today.
Yeah.
It's even worse.
Yeah.
And I think this Kobe's incident and everyone else on the plane and the helicopter serves as that, as guys. To me, this is what it means. To me, that aside from here today, gone today, to me, it's deeper than that. It's find your purpose, live your purpose, and share every moment that you can with your loved ones while being present at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it means.
I agree.
Okay, folks. Hey, we wanted to make this episode short, but sometimes it's hard to make it short. We like to talk, obviously, so I do. So sorry. We'll catch you next time, and tune in to our next episode. Thanks, and God bless.
Thank you.